can you believe it's episode number 20? I can. It's been a fun journey, and it's a little milestone for us, just like episode 10. Now we're at 20. But if this is your first time listening to us, thank you. Thank you for tuning in, and definitely go back into the past episodes in the archives. There's a couple of great ones that we had a lot of great feedback on. And we're not just a jiu-jitsu podcast. It's Dad and the Jiu-Jitsu Kid. So basically it's what it is. My son and I do jiu-jitsu as well as our whole family, and we train and we compete and I coach. But the most important thing is that we're a family. We spend a lot of time together, my son Ryan and I, and we like to share what we kind of talk about. And some of the stuff is nonsense that we talk about, but a lot of the stuff that him and I talk about is stuff that as parents, it's a hard time to talk to figure out how to bring certain topics up. And a lot of us are not comfortable bringing it up or talking about certain topics because definitely a majority of us, especially you're in that late 30s or 40, that X generation, even older, you didn't talk to you. Parents were not open about sex and drugs, suicide, and so things like that. So we have a few episodes that would cover that, and we have a cool topic that we covered today with Miyo. Miyo Strong is a Brazilian Jiu-jitsu purple belt competitor under the Pedro Sauer Team in Salt Lake City at Unified Brazilian Jiujitsu. Miyo is also an instructor at Empower Self-Defense in the Salt Lake City area. And she's a great ambassador. If you're in that area, reach out to her. She's super, super approachable, friendly, just a lovely human being. We opened up and shared a lot of tough discussions that she was open to talk about. And I think it's a great topic to sit down with your kids and talk about. I mean, we talked about sex and rape and women's self-defense, what women are doing and not doing, and I think women that need to do. I mean, just parents, if you're listening, I mean, it's a really serious topic that you need to watch out. I mean, not just for women, but or girls, but boys too. And to think about how to empower your kids and how to prepare your kids, and in a real scary world out there, and how are we preparing them? And hopefully that some of the topics that we cover kind of help you out. Sorry guys, so hope you enjoy the show and keep tuning in. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button on iTunes. It helps the show out a lot, and it keeps us active. And check us out on the website at dadandthejujitsukid.com, and keep hitting us up at you can follow Ryan at BJJ on Instagram, and you can follow the page on Instagram too, Dad and the Jiu-Jitsu Kid on Instagram too. We try to put a bunch of content out and just some interactions with our fans and what we're doing. All right, guys, so hope you're enjoying the show.
What is this?
The show is about nothing. It's about a man and his kid.
Does he have superpowers too?
Dad and the Jiu-Jitsu Kid.
He's just a special kid.
You are now DQ'd.
Fight!
Hey guys, welcome to episode 20 of Dad and the Jiu-Jitsu Kid, and please help me welcome our awesome guest today. We actually flew her down from the very, very cold Salt Lake City area. Mrs. Miyo Strong. How are you, Miyo?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you.
Yeah, when you walked in, I'm like, I'm so sorry. It's like super cold. And I mean, it's 60 degrees for us, and we're like in sweaters. I'm like freezing getting out of bed. I'm like, it's like the worst temperature. And my wife's like, so you better make sure that the heater's on. You better make sure that, because she's going to be cold. I'm like, she's from Utah. I'm like, I can't be that.
I'm in flip-flops.
And then, yeah, exactly. Well, kind of like Arizona too. I mean, we go and, we still like walk around in t-shirts and here, in the 70s or we go somewhere, it's like, oh my gosh, it's super hot today. And it's like, it's funny because I go to Utah, to Salt Lake probably about twice a year for work.
Oh, nice.
And I try to take Ryan with me, and we have a Carlson Gracie team, Salt Lake City there. And so we go up there and train with Professor Suyan.
Oh, yeah, First BJJ.
Yeah, First BJJ.
Well, you guys, let me know when you're in town next time.
Yeah, we will, definitely. And we go, and people, it's usually in the spring and then summer.
Okay.
And, whatever, 80 some degrees. And like, oh my gosh, it's so hot. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like ready. It's like the most beautiful weather ever.
It's ideal.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And, but no, I mean, meaning to ask you, and we've been following your page for a little while now, actually. And, you just had, well, not that, but then also too, you had a real bad black eye too.
Oh yeah. I had a really good size shiner for a couple weeks. Yep. After a tournament.
Oh, it's from a tournament. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You took a knee?
It's so funny. I don't really remember how it even happened. The match was over and I kind of thought, oh, there's something on my eye. Everyone's like, nope.
Oh,
it's going to be swollen shut.
Oh my gosh. And now you're fighting with, you broke something or what?
Well, so I had surgery 3 weeks ago on my wrist and I'm not back to rolling with everybody, but I have started training again with all my trusted black belts.
Now, are you selective? Is that not something when I've talked to, other competitors, female competitors, and especially when we had our podcast with one of our professors, Professor Alicia, she got a black belt, and we went over it. But she's been training a very long time here, especially here. She's one of the first black belts.
That's awesome.
And she was very okay, back then when she goes, you kind of just rolled with everybody, kind of, you just did. There was no women your size or men, sometimes men your size, but they're crazy. You got to fight. Now, are you pretty selective when, especially now with an injury, how you roll with?
Oh, with an injury, of course, I'm very selective, but typically it really depends on what I'm getting ready for. If I'm training for, worlds or pans or whatever it is, or a super fight, something specific, then I'm, extremely picky because I like to train hard and I don't want to get injured. So, of course, preparing for something. But if I'm just training to train, then I'll go with anybody. And it's really fun to tap out the bigger, younger, dudes.
I always like those memes. They're like, oh, it's usually younger guys that think that they're like, oh, I don't want to hurt a woman. I'll go easy on you. And my wife does that too. She goes like, oh my gosh, these white belts are like, you're crazy. I got to slam them down and just grind on them just to pass, and I just sit there just to it's like, dude, relax. You don't need to, and I always fear that, not too much, if she's going to, she's pretty well, how to defend herself. And if she's compete or tournament or rolling with somebody new even, or someone bigger, she knows okay, I just got to, if they're just on top of me, I just got to kind of sit here and kind of grind it out until I can get out of whatever position I am. Now, do you feel, we were talking about that with your tournaments, with your tournament brackets too, before we started recording now you get a lot small, petite. Now, and being in the Salt Lake area where it's not a big jiu-jitsu community, how are your pairings up when tournaments there?
So I typically don't even compete locally in Utah anymore.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. I go and I support and I help coach. Our Unified Jiu-jitsu team has the largest women's team in the state. So it's amazing. We have tons of competitors and it's growing, but I typically compete out of state.
Oh, wow. And you're pretty close to what would be the states that you would go to?
I've competed all over California, Arizona, Colorado, Idaho, Vegas a ton, of course. Okay. Yeah, that's a big jiu-jitsu hub.
Yeah, it is. No, we were there at Masters. Were you there at Masters too? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Did you compete?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I lost in the first round. Right. Dang it.
Was this your first purple belt Masters Worlds?
Nope. I took third last year.
Oh, wow.
Okay. At my first purple belt Master Worlds, yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Now, how's the depth there as far as a tournament?
Oh, I love competing IBJJF because there's always women, and I'm okay to go up a weight class, down an age. I don't mind that kind of thing. So just get a bigger bracket.
Yeah, just to get more mat time.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. And did any of your family also train?
Nope.
You're the only one. How did that happen?
I made a mistake early on and pushed my oldest daughter. When the day she turned 5, I was like, you're going to be a world champion. Let's go in here. Let's train. And that, my pressure combined with maybe not the best set of coaches for her to be pushed with. It just it wasn't a good mix. And so with my 8-year-old, I took it way more casually, and she likes to train, but her deal is she'll only train if I'm helping with the class or on the mat with her. And that doesn't always work out when I have, X amount of hours in a day. And if I'm prepping for something, I'm selfish. I want to go train and be serious. And
yeah, for her, it's just like, oh, I want to go play.
Yeah.
Probably, right?
Yeah.
It's not something that.
Yeah. So she's going to, but they come to the gym with me. They're open to it. I'm at a new school. I've been there about 18 months, and their kids program's phenomenal. The coaches are absolutely a perfect blend for, coaching and teaching children. So
good. I know it's always a hard part. I know, because I help with the kids team here, and when you meet parents, always like if professor's not here, we always sit down and talk to them. If the kid tries it out, like, hey, yeah, try it out for the week, the free trial, and just to make sure that they want to, because it's. That's what you feel bad, because you don't want the parents to like, oh yeah, I want to be, it's like karate, right? And it's funny because when we had a little kids come in and signed up for little kids class, and he had an older brother, and I was like, oh, does he want to try it? He goes, oh no, he tried it in big kids class when you guys were at the other location next door, the other building, and he goes, yeah, someone like flipped them or something, or I don't know what might have happened. He's like, no, I never want to do that again, kind of thing. But yeah, I think it is like, you get a bad taste, you can get a bad experience, I guess. Even like as an older, an adult might come in, or might come in at the wrong day. Like, hey, it's competition training, man.
Yeah,
just
the
hang
beasts
in
are
there.
out.
Yeah, just kind of hang in there. We tell them like, hey, you might go a little crazy, so just just go with it, and watch out, and just do the best that you can, and I think and it's funny because I was thinking about that last night, and I woke up with this huge pain in my neck from training last night. And I was like, man, I'm going to talk to Miyo about that. Like, how did the term like the general art ever come about the sport?
Right.
I mean, because I see like, okay, I'm always beat up, you're beat up. My wife's always beat up. I'm walking usually like 20 feet behind her because I'm like, okay, she's bruised up and down. And is your husband like that way too? Like walking, like, don't even stand. I was like, just don't walk. I'll walk behind you. Don't relax. Okay. Cause I don't want somebody to think like, oh my gosh, this guy's beating his wife or something.
Oh no. I think it's back to that black eye. It was so funny. Like not a single person said anything to me about my eye, like out in public and I always, if I see a woman with a bruise, I'm always like,
oh yeah,
hey, like, you know what I mean? Just trying to make conversation and contact to make sure she's okay.
Oh,
and,
okay.
But I was surprised. I mean, I had a big old like swollen cheekbone, black and blue all over the place. And not a single person said anything. Although I will say, going through the drive-through, sometimes I would get free things. Like they'd be like, "You look like you need a milkshake. Here you go."
Oh my gosh,
you
having a bad day.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, is it because I have resting bitch face, or is it this like black and
this
blue
big black eye in my face right now, and that kind of thing? Yeah, I remember we were at the I forgot what home. I forgot what store we were at. My wife and I. It was like the day after we were training, and she was walking ahead of me, and I saw like the behind her arm, and it's a big hand mark.
You can see the like finger
grips like that bad. I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I'm not even gonna walk around the same vicinity.
Oh, isn't that funny?
And she had like a tank top on or something, and you could tell just her like on one side, and she goes, "Oh, that's what's hurting." He goes, "Yeah, somebody was grabbing me back there," and it was one of the guys was grabbed their whole hand, like went around my arm. And I go, yeah, you could see their whole hand behind her arm.
Yeah, and the shins too. Like whenever we're doing shin to shin stuff, it's like, man,
like
all
guard
of us
passing.
just look totally beat up.
Yeah, and you touched on something really interesting, and we talked about it a little bit before. When you see a woman like that, like, oh, wow, she has a black eye, or it might be something that way. And you mentioned that you do a lot of women's self-defense.
Yeah. So the whole reason I even got into jiu-jitsu in the first place was like 20 years ago when the UFC was just starting. And the Gracies were winning, and they were, these small, I mean, of course they're badass athletic men, but they were, beating these huge dudes and with technique and speed and this new thing called jiu-jitsu that is, meant for smaller people. And I had experienced some, terrible sexual abuse and some date rape, and just had a really negative experience, and was looking to like kind of reclaim my power, reclaim my body, get involved in something that, I could defend myself in a very practical manner, like all the kung fu and the taekwondo. And I mean, it's great, and I respect those arts, but as far as a self-defense, goes, they're not practical for women, especially. So that's why I got into jiu-jitsu, and I quit for a long, long time. So I know I should be like a coral belt by now.
Oh my gosh, really that long ago?
Yeah, it was, I think I got my blue belt in 2001. Yeah. And then I promptly quit.
Wow. So you actually got the proverbial blue belt blues?
No, it was interesting. I signed up for Pan Am's not knowing anything. I did not realize that back then you had to be a blue belt to compete. And so at the time, Pedro Sauer was my professor, and I was going out there with some teammates, and he said, "Oh, here, you need your blue belt to do that." And I mean, I had been training and I was ready, and obviously he wouldn't have given it to me unless, I had earned it.
That's a crash course.
but I mean, I had been training a while, but I just was signing up for everything. I loved it. I was totally into it. I didn't even care, but I quit. And, cause I was in college, I was, wanted to get married, have kids. And so after I did all that, I found it again and came back. But let me circle back around. So now, women's self-defense is just a huge, and women's empowerment is one of my passions. So a lot of my drive in teaching is women specifically. And so a teammate of Chelsea Kilpack and I, we run a group called Empowered Self-Defense. She has a master's degree, and she's on the board of a lot of organizations in Utah, like UCASA is one of them. It's the Utah Coalition Against Sexual Assault. And so she has the education piece, and between the two of us, we're both active competitor purple belts, and I'm a mother, and she's great. So between the two of us, we put together these workshops, and we usually donate the proceeds to either the Rape Recovery Center or some organization that's helping, educate and empower women.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's amazing. That's and I know, and especially when I meeting someone new here, jiu-jitsu, everybody has a story or backstory, and we've had the chance to meet women that come in and where it's like they open up a little bit and they kind of share that, okay, well, I don't want to defend myself, and you can kind of, and it's the worst feeling in the world, like to run into somebody that's like felt that I don't know how you felt when in your situations, and I know, and I've had especially my wife, where she works, she always has a lot of she deals in a pregnancy center, but it's a not for profit, so a lot of people that go in there are were abused or raped or at some point or something happened. And we always talk about it, and she always opens up about some of this. She opens up some of the stories, and we talk about it because it's hard. And it's a really hard topic. And I always tell people, it's like, I used to be like that way when I first got into jiu-jitsu, like, post, like, you got to have your kids in this. You got to have your daughters in this. If you, you shouldn't have your daughters doing. And then I got off that soapbox and kind of thing, and kind of like, oh gosh, it sounds like I'm like, some political page, because I felt so passionate about it. Exactly. I felt so, because I'd never, kids I love it. The kids on our team, they're my kids. That's how I feel. I see them, and I see that I love when they come up and they say, "Hi, Coach Mark," and that's my day. My whole day is just being what I enjoy it. It's a part of me. So I would hate to know the fact that one of the kids was, something happened. And I mean, do you always in your classes, do you push jiu-jitsu as far as I'm training to continue on with the training?
Yeah. I mean, of course the goal is to always get them to train, but a lot of it too is just get them to talk about it. Even, actually somebody had recently asked me if I felt like I had prevented sexual assault based on teaching jiu-jitsu. And I haven't heard about anybody, getting assaulted and them getting away or, all the techniques we teach. But I have talked to a lot of girls and women that feel like they can trust me because I'm out there sharing my own story of sexual abuse and rape. So they can talk to me about what they've been through and what they would like to get back to as far as feeling comfortable in their own skin and feeling like they have power. And so that part makes it all worth it. Like being able to talk to people who have survived and help them take the baby steps to, continue to heal. And so talking about it is huge. If they can start training, that's huge too. But even, I don't care what they do. If they're doing something positive, something physical, something mental, and learning to use their voice and learning to help other women as well.
Yeah, and then you touched on something really, because our professor, he does like women's self-defense classes here too, and they hold seminars here. And one thing that when we've been here and I've helped with the classes, that he always resonates about, or what he always kind of makes it a point is, well, one, of course, like you're not going to learn. You're not gonna be like, okay, I can get out of anything just because of this 2-hour class or 3-hour class, whatever I just did. You have to continue on. If you want to come back and train, you have to continue on and practice. But I think too, they touch on the mental aspect. Like, okay, you haven't heard of anybody like using it to defend themselves. He goes, but I think maybe just talking about and learning about this is what you do if something should happen. I think that kind of gets women out of like, okay, I need to be more aware of my surroundings. Like, oh, this is real. I need to be, I know Coach talks about like, don't be walking outside with every hand covered, walking with your purse.
And looking at your phone.
Looking at your phone with your keys and you're like this. And, you kind of like, hey, unlock the door from, you get here, put everything away, then get, watch it. And I always do that with my wife. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so tunnel vision sometimes and you just want to go and just go to your truck and do this. And I'm like, no, I walk out and I'm like, I don't know if it's a male or female, and I was in law enforcement before, and I was a child with the kids. I mean, don't just wander off. Make sure you pay attention where you're at. And I think that just by doing the classes, I think you kind of open up a lot of women's eyes and just have them feel that empowerment. I mean, if that's to feel like, okay, I have an idea of how to defend myself if something should happen.
I have tools.
It goes by, I think, the mental aspect of being more careful, being more like, okay, I'm not going to park at I want to get my steps in, so I'll park, 20 miles in the parking lot and walk in the dark. And I was like, no, okay, I'm going to park up front and I'm going to, I'm not going to carry every grocery bag. I'm going to, kind of thing and plan it out, which is a sad state of kind of where you have to live. Especially, I don't know. It's and we talked about it before we started too. I love talking about that. That's why the podcast is so awesome, because you talk about certain things that make people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And you love, and people that have that are open to share that. And, it's top. You have to talk about it.
Oh,
and
for sure.
You can't be so shy about it. Oh, you can't talk about, you can't talk about rape or sexual abuse, or you can't, it's a reality.
Yeah, you have to talk about protecting yourself and protecting others, and
Is that do you work you have 2 girls? Do you work with them?
Oh yes, they come to all my seminars.
Oh,
good. My youngest is 8, and she came to the end of the last one because just they're 2.5 hours usually, so the time and the attention span of an 8-year-old. It's not that the content isn't appropriate for my own children. I let the moms or the dads or whoever make the decision. We recommend, 11 years old and up for our seminars because we do talk very candidly about sexual abuse and predators and rape and all of the, really uncomfortable things for even grown women sometimes. But, like you were mentioning earlier, we both kind of grew up in a conservative household. Mine happened to be very traditional kind of Japanese, and we didn't really hug or touch or tell each other we loved each other, let alone talk about vaginas and rape and, men and sex. Like we just didn't have those conversations, or sexuality, even being comfortable, as a female and owning your body and your power and, your own sexuality. And I'm very open with my kids. My girls, know all the correct body parts, all the terms, all the boundaries, all the, uncomfortable things that sometimes, we don't want to talk about with our kids. I make it a point to sit down and to make sure they understand,
And it's just having that communication where it's maybe not, they just have a question about something, or even just, they don't never hear you mention we never talked about any of that, it's like, oh my gosh, no, any sexuality in the house, forget about it. You just kind of I think my parents are kind of okay, we'll find out from your friends and
read a book.
Is there something in school about this now kind of thing? And it's like, oh gosh. And I know Ryan's probably like, oh my gosh.
Which is exactly why we're talking about it, Ryan.
No, but we're pretty open, and we try to talk about as much as, and sometimes but at least I like him knowing that we had that communication. Yeah. And I think it's important for both boys and girls.
Oh, of course.
I think, and just to have hey, you're 13 and you have a 12-year-old and crap, man, you probably dealing already with stuff that I'm dealing with him, and it's not. I mean, it's not fun if you're involved, right? If you're involved, oh my gosh, I got to deal with. Great, this now. Okay, so how do we talk about this? And
do you guys have the Speak Up, Be Safe program in your school? Have you heard of that?
No.
It's interesting. Utah, I don't know if it's a Utah thing, but in the public schools, they have a program called Speak Up, Be Safe, and it's a program. And it's still politically sensitive and politically correct. So there are some things we don't talk about, but I'm one of the coordinators and volunteers for that program. And my kids almost always just roll their eyes when I come walking in with all my
at the school.
Yeah, at the school.
Oh my gosh.
And they give you a script. So there are certain points you have to, hit. But I also not embellish. I just add to the content and try and, speak in a way that the children understand about, especially cyberbullying, especially social media and sexting and all of the things that are happening today, with as young as freaking 8 years old.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you have to just start the conversations early.
Well, because, they're somewhere they're going to figure it out themselves. And it's not and it's a tool we, I was in that boat of technology is the devil, and social media is the devil, and this and now. Years ago, and especially with him, that's, and I'm oh my gosh, I'm turning into my parents, and because I still remember, it was funny because I still remember the day we got our first PC, and I was 9 or 10, probably about 10. I was and it was oh my gosh, my mom was what is that thing? It's never gonna, there's no use for that. There's no, and then, but going back to the social media thing, and I know and with him before, he has an Instagram page, and I still monitor it. It's still, I have it, and I see him
till you're 18, buddy, he can legally be all over your page.
Yeah, exactly. And the one thing I did change was I was it that you had on the description? It was parent monitored. It Yeah, I had parent monitor on it. He goes, Dad, can you take that off, please? I was like, all right, I'll take it off.
Yeah.
Whatever. And
It's actually probably better to have it off because then you can for sure creep on whoever's
yeah, exactly.
around.
Oh, like, well, I tell him like, hey, well, what's like? He goes, okay, Dad. He goes, and I tell him like the boundaries of like this is appropriate. And do you understand? Like this is exactly like like it's the whole like okay, sharing like a what are those like some teachers just like share this picture and see how many millions of people can see this picture of you kind of thing. And it's exactly right. I mean, you're putting yourself out there, and you got to be really careful what you say and what you do, and what you especially now you're getting older and don't think it's like, hey, all these seems like normal to be. Yeah, you mentioned sexting and these sending pictures and kind of things, and it's like before like porn. Like, well, I gotta watch on home on the computer. I'm like, not really. Just open your phone.
There's Twitter.
Yeah,
I mean, it's everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, no, you don't have to be. And so it's like the most things that we have to discuss and we have to, my wife leaves me like, okay, have a discussion with him, and I don't know. I think my wife tries to talk to you. I mean, do you feel comfortable talking to your mom about?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
You probably feel comfortable listening though, if your mom has some good things to say to you. You respect her. So yeah.
Yeah. And then we try to, and I think my wife knows, she tries to like, okay, but she knows like, okay, I think he'll sit there and listen, but he won't open up with her. There's certain things that he probably wouldn't say to her. And especially if it's like with girls. I mean, I'm telling her too, like, hey, listen to your mom if she mentions this about, it's because that she's right about this. Or I say like, hey, just from experience, don't be doing that, or don't say that, don't act that way. And just,
I know my girls definitely, they're both super close to their dad, but when it comes to talk about puberty and periods and kissing and, boys, and my oldest one does not want to talk to my Brian about it. Yeah.
Oh my God. Does he talk to, is he open about that with them? Or he's kind of like, okay, you handle that part.
No, I think he's an only child and didn't have, really any experience with girls until, dating. But, so like with the puberty and the, the up and down and all the hormonal changes and everything that's happening with her, I'm educating him on what's happening, and he's educating
like,
himself.
What the hell's going on?
Yeah. I'm like, no, it's a real thing. Like, it's not just like PMS is something that people made up when they didn't get what they wanted.
Yeah.
No, it's a real physiological, phenomenon that's happening. But so he's one of the most incredible dads. So he'll do and support and help whatever way he can, even if it's super uncomfortable for him. So
wow, that do 2 girls. That's a tough project.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And my 12-year-old they're both amazing children, but of course, all parents think theirs are
exactly.
next level amazing.
Yeah, or sometimes want to throw them out a window. Or something.
Constantly. And I'm pretty open about that too. Like, I want to just pick you up and throw you out the window, so stop.
That was funny because last night after training, we were talking about one of our friends, really close friends, and he's close friends with their daughters, and he's like, "Gosh, I want to just throw that phone away." And I was like, "Man, when we were going to the tournament." He was like, dude, I wanted to chuck that phone out of the window with Ryan attached to it so many times last night. I was telling him, I was like, oh my gosh, like I cannot. It was one of those like, oh gosh. And but no, I think I always mess with him. Like, oh my gosh, I like that. I don't know. People's like messing around. I think one of my wife's family members, or actually her brother, is like, oh my gosh, Mark's like, he goes, well, that's how he talks to them. He's not going to, talk to them. I don't mean it.
Yeah.
But it goes, sometimes I'm super close to doing that. But but I know, but it's a trying age. And with the girls, I can't imagine. My friend, actually, where we just moved into this house right here, which is just around the corner. The house we lived before was right next door, had 5 boys. And it went from Cash was like 6 or 7, and the oldest boy was like
17
17 now. And we were there when they were babies, when there were just 3 of them. And then the other house next door has 6 girls, all the same ages. So they all grew up when they're babies.
Yeah.
And then there was 6 girls, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel and that's the thing. But it's so cool to watch I love girls. I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I can. I love my boys, and it's an amazing time, bonding time. But I always oh man, and he's like that too, though. If he's like a baby girl or a baby, I'm like that way too. I just melt.
I want to nuzzle them, and
yes, I just want the jumping on me kind of a daddy kind of thing, and that must be cool. I think for your husband though too.
Oh my gosh, they're so in love with him. It's crazy. And I love that they have this incredible example of a man. Mm-hmm. And I don't care. I mean, man, woman, whatever they end up, wanting to find as a partner. I just hope they find, quality humans to attach to.
Yeah. That's a good thing that he is involved, I think.
Oh, for sure. He's an incredible dad. Oh my gosh, Bri is I wish every daughter could have a dad like that. I think we'd have a lot less daddy issues in the world.
Yeah, I don't. Does he doesn't train at all?
Nope, he is a competitive strongman. So he's got his thing, and it's better that way.
I mean, it was the coolest when I found your page. I was like, man, that's a cool name, Miyo Strong. I wonder what her last name really is. I was like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah,
that is her.
That's actually my name.
That's so cool. I was like, that's what better name could have as a competitor?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It's funny because my girls, we talk about, how some women take the last name of the men, mm-hmm. and I was like that. My maiden name's Harmston. Mm-hmm. And so I never loved that. I mean, I love my Harmston crew, don't get me wrong. But when I met Brian, I was like, well, I hope you turn out to be as cool as your last name, because I like that.
Oh, nice.
Like that name. And
was
then
that hooked you in?
Yeah, for sure. That was it. But actually my girls talking about people that take last names, they don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yep, you don't have to, because
that's a strong name. That's a good name.
A great name.
Yeah, it's 4 letter or 5 letter. You just make it easy to spell. And is it 4 or 5? There you go. 6. Good.
That's okay. It's early.
I'm gonna edit that out. So yeah. But yeah, I was Benavidez. I'm like, oh my gosh, how did they figure out how to say it, and not only just say it, but they spell it after a while. And
yeah.
I know. What was it? What's the name? Is it in high school? When I was in high school, that I had my name was misspelled almost my entire high school career.
Yeah,
my 4 years in high school, and it was misspelled to the point where I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah, don't even correct them. Just write it down. Fine.
Yeah, no, it's done. Now you touched on actually something really cool. The project that you are involved in Utah, where you go and talk to.
Oh, the Speak Up Be Safe.
The Speak Up Be Safe.
Yeah, so that's a public school program that the state of Utah runs. I'm curious. Now I need to do some research.
Yeah, because I've never heard of anything here. That's
in the schools.
And something definitely not in schools. We've never had it across.
Well, in Utah, so I don't know what it is for children, but for females in Utah, so the national average of dealing with some sort of sexual violence in your lifetime, the national average is 1 in 5 females will experience that. In Utah, it's 1 in 3. So I like that they have the Speak Up Be Safe program, because it's such a devastating statistic for women, for females. It's all females. That's what the statistic is. 1 in 3.
Wow. And I mean, you always hear okay, I mean, the stats are, somebody that was involved, or,
mm-hmm.
at some point knows somebody that knows somebody. And it's, but the part is that they don't share it.
Yeah, because there's so much shame attached to being abused, or.
What do you think that? I mean, if with your experience and working with other women in that realm and your own history, why do you think that is?
Why do people feel shame after they've been sexually assaulted or abused?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of reasons, but one is just not being able to stop it or control it or save yourself or prevent it. Or, and there's so many negative feelings and the guilt of really not being able to change it or stop it. taking away, those people are getting their power taken away, and it's scary. And of course there's the guilt and shame of, what did I do to deserve it? Or why did it happen to me? There's so many layers to it.
Gosh, I know it's I don't know. It's an uncomfortable topic, and I always wondered, how as a parent yourself, how you explain to your kids, how is it that a parent, parents that listen, I mentioned, our most popular episodes are the episodes that are not jiu-jitsu based episodes. Then having you coming here, I'm like, I didn't know much of her background, and I know you're like, okay, she's super cool. She has a bunch of stuff, and and she's involved in everything. And now having to be able to share that with other parents, it's cool outside of Utah, and we have we're getting a bigger following. I mean, how would you explain or help to have parents explain to their kids or their daughters like how to to share that, like, hey, this, you have to be careful with this.
How do you start the conversations? Well, it really depends on the age and the maturity level of the kids, and I think both boys and girls need to have the conversation. I think knowing when they're young, as basic as knowing body part names and knowing the difference between appropriate touching and, inappropriate touching. And in the Speak Up, Be Safe program, they specifically talk about areas that your swimsuit covers. So depending on the age, you can discuss appropriate touching, and also just being able to open up the dialogue with your children about how they're feeling and who they're involved with, and and following your gut instinct as a parent and as a child. I talk a lot about, listening to your gut with my kids. If it feels wrong, it probably is wrong. And then you have to think about, why does it feel wrong? And it can come in all different forms. It's not just gender to gender, boys to girls. My oldest daughter had a terrible experience years ago with one of her then best friends pressuring her to watch inappropriate videos. And she knew it was wrong, and the guilt of knowing that she couldn't prevent it from happening, and knowing how I would feel. And this is a fine line I walk with my daughters, is sometimes they don't tell me about things that are happening because my immediate reaction, I joke that it's violent, but it's not. I mean, every parent wants to protect their children physically, emotionally, mentally, all of those ways. But so I've kind of learned to walk that line, because for a while there, they genuinely thought I was going to go murder the person that was. God, yeah. And like, I don't want you to go to jail,
that's
Mom.
Your reaction.
For her. Yeah. And I'm like, well, okay, maybe I need to be a little more realistic about because I was like, tell me who it is. I will go to their house. I will rip them out of their bed. I will, dismember them. And then, just because that is my instinct. I never want my children to, be hurt or intimidated or anyway. But so starting the conversation, making sure they know to follow their own instinct, and actually to be able to speak to you about things that maybe make them uncomfortable, and also owning their sexuality. I talk about that to my 12-year-old all the time. Be proud of your body. Be proud of, wanting to be healthy and wanting to eat right and sleep and exercise. And, you have an amazing physicality to you, but there's also, this educational piece where, talk to your friends, make sure you're being there for them as well. Make sure, if you feel like you can't talk to me about something, talk to somebody, like whether it's a counselor or a friend or a different trusted adult. There are a lot of ways to help. Yeah,
because she could even be a sounding board for somebody, like if someone wants to talk to her about it. And it's good to be that friend.
And actually she had the whole way that, sorry to cut you off, way the problem with the friend that was having her watch these videos was resolved, or even brought to the forefront, was her friends had encouraged her to tell me. Because she didn't want to tell me for fear of my, violent retaliation, which did not happen. We handled it in a very mature way. But, I was so happy that her group of friends that she chooses to, run around with are such good influences that they saw a major issue, saw behavioral changes. And we were seeing behavioral changes in her at home as well. So we knew something was wrong. We just tried to get her to talk to us, but it wasn't until her friends encouraged her to talk to us that she actually felt safe enough to open up.
Yeah. And that's, oh gosh, that's so, and I can imagine like sometimes like if, like our other son, like he'll come home and share like, oh, so-and-so's like bullying me, kind of like, I'm like, okay, are you just saying, oh, he's bullying me because they told you something no or something, or are they actually like you want to get it out of him sometimes, like tell me what's going on, or tell me, like even with Ryan sometimes I'm like, something's like, you want to drag it out of them, and I'm like, okay, well, you just wait.
Yeah.
Just, like, hey, bring whatever it is you want to talk about up. And then as a parent myself, and then knowing how I am, like, okay, if he brings us something up, just listen.
Yes. Yep. I have a hard time. I do. I'm the same way. I have to remind myself, be silent, give them an opportunity to keep talking about it. Don't just automatically pepper them with questions.
Yeah, very exactly. That's the hard. Like, well, what about this? What about that? Well, that's my job. It's like I interview. I get questions out of people, and like that's my actual profession is investigations, and is to interview people and to get information out. So I'm like, I can't do that. I can't talk to. I can't be like that with whatever he's trying to tell me. Just gotta let it, come out, because whatever it might be super uncomfortable, or it might be super silly, and it might be, I don't know, but I always tell people, leave it open for them to talk, even if they don't. You probably didn't get what you wanted to hear. Just leave it open, and then come back to it later.
Yeah.
Or they might come back to it later. You never know. I always tell people, or people, like even we talk about it here with we've had other guests come in, and we had a therapist come in on episode 10, which is still one of the most popular shows. And she goes, you just got to sit and wait.
Yeah. Be there. Just be there. Be present. Be available.
I'm coming from always, from what I hear from other parents about their kids, telling them like, oh, they don't have a parent, and so-and-so doesn't have a parent to talk to, and then talk to him, and so-and-so's parents. And I'm like, okay, well, you have a parent to talk to. So you have people that really want to talk to you about whatever it is you want to talk about, and give you the right advice or choices to make. So you don't use it, take advantage of it. Don't just sit there and think you're going to try to figure it out on your own, which is like how I grew up. And look, I'm just going to get out of this by myself in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, you figure out a way to cope, and you hope that you give them the opportunity to learn healthy coping strategies.
Yes. Now, is your daughter involved in social media? Your 12-year-old?
She does have a private business account on Instagram because she and her girlfriends used to make and sell slime. And so,
oh my gosh,
yeah, make and sell slime, right? But it's pretty limited. I of course monitor, and I'm all up in the DMs and everything. Oh, okay. But actually, just even 2 weeks ago, I was reading all of her messages, and she had a friend from school who will remain anonymous that was encouraging her to cheat on her homework. And her response, I was so damn proud of her. She handled it well, just stood her ground, but didn't make the other girl feel stupid, you know what I mean, for suggesting it. She was just like, hey, nope, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I do it, whatever. And so the next morning I was like, baby, I'm so proud of you. Like, oh my gosh. And she just rolled her eyes at me. Oh, you're reading everything. I'm like, yep.
Yeah.
But even that I am up in all of her business, I am not naive enough to think that is the only way she's communicating. So, of course, I don't just, glide through it thinking, if I'm just reading her social media page, then I know what's happening. No way. There are ways to. Oh, yeah.
And I try to, like with him, I'm more like, okay, I don't read all his texts anymore. I don't.
Yeah, because you have to have some level of trust.
Yeah, I've told him that. I'm like, okay, I know you go through your phone and delete whatever you're looking at. Like, I'm not dumb.
Yeah.
Okay. I know you go through
Because I do
your
the same
phone.
thing.
Yeah, I know. I go through your phone and delete text messages. I'm like, oh, I'm not dumb. I know you could do that.
Yeah.
I tell you not to. And I mean, but the same thing is, like, every night you give me your phone. You get it in the morning.
Yeah.
You take it at a certain time. You and your brother's bringing all your electronics in, and then the next day you get them at a certain time. And so I give more, like I don't read the text as much. I'm like, okay, I'll just leave it there. And just kind of like, okay, whatever. And every once in a while I'll glance through them and like, okay, who's there? And we had to talk about somebody, like, why is so-and-so calling you or texting you? Like, no, out.
Yeah.
And just because I want them to have, I think, I don't know, I not judgmental in any way, but I don't view having a phone as it's like their phone.
No way. It's a freaking privilege.
Yeah, exactly.
And that will be the first thing to get taken away.
Oh, yeah. And it's limited to who's contacting you.
Yeah.
Unless I know them or we know them or we get a feel for them. And one of the stories that we brought up was his Instagram. I showed him my kids' Instagram stuff. Like, do you see some of your friends on here, what they're posting? I'm like, I'm not judgmental. I know they're posting silly, goofy things. And I'm like, okay, that's not the point. Because the point is the kids that are posting them smoking.
Right.
Or the kids that are posting them saying stupid things. Like, one was like putting names up, like, oh, who they'd have sex with, and seventh graders.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I know, and the guys are like, yeah, okay, seventh grade, like, trust me, you're not doing anything, and there's a lot of. I'm sure it's a lot of talk, and I'm sure it's trying to be cool kind of thing. He goes, but like, and I explained to him. I said, do you understand the fact of maybe that girls seeing her name on here?
Right. The effect of
that
action. Yeah.
You know, the effect of, like, that's what this kid that they go to school with, that she's on his list or might be other lists kind of coming up. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know, that's the point of, like, I don't care if you post stupid things. And, you know, it was funny because we had our last episode, our last one, episode 19. We're like, let's just have a conversation how we normally have a conversation. And it was retarded stuff. It was like freaking, we're talking about just most randomest things and this and that. What if the moon landing was fake and what is this? And, we're just goofy things, just weird. We're getting into topics. But that's our conversation. We were talking about our conversations about just anything, like at our drive home. That's what we talk about, just whatever goofy video he's watching about YouTube or something. But also too, it's like don't ignore the social media aspect of, like, man, can be really bad.
Yeah. I mean, for adults it can be bad. I mean, let alone for children.
I mean, you always see that. Yeah, you always, like, people I think always underestimate.
Yeah, the effect of keyboard warriors. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Now, being as popular as you are on social media, how interesting are your DMs?
Oh, jeez.
Oh, you're freaking.
There may or may not be a group text thread going around with screenshots of all the shit I get in my DMs. But it's actually, for the most part, a hugely positive experience. And when I started my social media, when I started my Instagram page, I made a very specific goal to be authentic, but also be positive. Mm-hmm. And take some risks and be vulnerable. And, I put stuff out there that, maybe
there's a local train coming through.
that maybe is uncomfortable. I mean, I know I put things out there that are uncomfortable for me and for others, but it's reality. And it's, my whole journey from training jiu-jitsu to being a, Utah Jits mama. When I picked my name, it was like, okay, what are some keywords that don't define me, but that describe me? And for sure, those 3 words describe me.
Yeah. It was funny because you posted I don't know if it was funny because on your story, you posted something and your family made a comment.
Oh,
And I was
and
like,
luckily the person who made that comment is not going to be listening to this podcast.
so I was like, oh wow.
Yeah.
And I've heard. I mean, can you share that?
Sure. One of my family members whom I love and respect and adore, he happens to be in his late 70s or mid 70s. He's old school, but he made a comment about my body, which just dudes, ladies, just don't comment on people's bodies, like just as a general rule. But he said to me, "What are you trying to do? Look like a bull dyke?" And he like grabbed my arm muscles because I was in a tank top. We were going out to a nice dinner, and I just looked at him like, whatever, like I just kind of let it, because it's not worth the argument, right?
Yeah.
To me, because I love him. I respect him. I understand, that he didn't mean to hurt my feelings, but, I struggle with self-esteem just like everybody else. And, I really try and focus on what my body can do instead of what it looks like. And am I healthy? Am I strong? Am I able to choke the fuck out of someone?
Yeah.
Like, oh, sorry, I said that.
Oh, I don't care.
Sorry. Like there are certain, priorities over does it look pretty? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And does somebody else's opinion of your body carry any weight? And yeah, I mean, it does. But do I give it space to actually harm me or consume me?
Your goals are way different than some people, and some people have the same goals. And maybe some women have the same goals, but maybe feel like, oh, I can't do that because I don't want to be viewed that way.
Yeah. Oh, no matter what you do, somebody is going to have an opinion about it, and it's not going to be a good one.
Even if you didn't, train.
Yeah.
Someone had an opinion or whatever.
Oh,
it
yeah,
is. Like,
for sure. People tell me constantly, you're showing too much skin. You're not showing enough skin. You're too muscular. Oh, you're not muscular enough. Or, oh, you should really focus on this or do that. You know what I mean? Like everybody has an opinion, and I appreciate people's opinions, but I also don't give them the weight maybe that they probably want.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that's good because I think it and it's true. I mean, you made a real positive image for like other women that follow your page, and I think men too, because I was like, oh wow, man, she's awesome. She does this. She's throwing Bulgarian bags over her head while doing a backflip, and I was like, no, that's awesome, and I love seeing that because it changes the stereotype of women, but also too is like, oh no, I mean, jiu-jitsu breaks the stereotype
For sure.
because you're in a super close, uncomfortable space with a lot of your training partners, I'm sure, are men.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a whole other world because now you're showing women like, oh, wow, I can probably train that way and not feel like, and I think because men feel super uncomfortable with women that they don't know, like what they're rolling with them.
I've heard
Like,
that.
oh, I don't know how they're going to be, if I get too close, I don't want to drip a sweat to fall on their face, kind of like, but and after a while, like, oh, okay, I don't care. And I'm just, and they're totally comfortable. But I think you kind of giving them at least a platform for women, like, oh, I can do that.
I'm old too. Like I didn't, I'm not the 20-year-old out there that's, going to college and training full time and, kicking ass. Like, no, I'm trying to balance a career, a family, a passion and still be a good person and, help others.
How's your planning schedule? Your
I'm
organization?
such a planner.
Really?
I am like anal retentive type A when it comes to organization. Actually I've been already thinking about my tournament schedule for next year, and I'm out with an injury right now. I can't compete. Probably Pan Am's will be my first competition back from my wrist surgery, but I want to compete every month of 2019 from March on.
Oh, wow.
Clearly I can't do January, February, but So I've been looking up, doing my research, trying to plan it because I have to plan it around what are my girls doing? What do I have to do? When's my busy season at work? What are my responsibilities with,
the family
and and helping others. And, I have a lot of balls in the air at any given moment.
Now, how do you use a method or your like weekly schedule, or you're planning like your workouts and jiu-jitsu?
Jiu-jitsu for sure. I just do like iCalendar, and I go through and I know, the schedule at the gym. And then I do cross train at other jiu-jitsu gyms because one of my main goals is to grow women's jiu-jitsu in Utah. So I like to make sure that I know who's training where and, if they need help with something, like I'm constantly available and willing to help other schools, women prep for things. In fact, one of the most exciting things that's happening, we're having our very first women's paid jiu-jitsu tournament in Utah. It's called Proving Grounds Invitational. So this is the 5th show for Proving Grounds, but they've never had women. And myself and Jessie Stemple from Colorado, we were the first women's super fight on our last show. We had a huge response. It was amazing. It's very, it's a no-gi kind of EBI rules meets fight to win rules. It's kind of an aggressive, no points, submission only, no-gi tournament. And so we had such a great response from Jessie and I's fight that this PGI 5, we're hosting a 16 women, it's blue purple up to 130 pound no-gi sub only tournament. The prize money is equal to the men's, which is huge.
So it's part of the entry fee kind of?
Oh no, it's invitational. So they're not paying anything. They're coming and they're going to compete, and fastest sub of the night, and the winner, they all get cash prize money. And that was redundant, cash prize money. Just cash prize money. That's a song. Right? Or a rapper, somebody's name. So they, and then the swag bags are going to be amazing. We have so many great sponsors that are willing to help promote women in combat sports, women's jiu-jitsu specifically. And
there's a lot of, I like the growth of it. I mean, I was talking about our professor Alicia, when she was telling stories about competitors. I mean, if you're a purple belt, you were competing against brown belts.
Oh yeah,
you're doing this back then. You're doing it was no like if you're a brown belt, it's a brown and black belt.
Yeah,
purple is purple, browns or something. And then you're always competing. So it's nice to have women be able to like, okay, now I have my own division, where it's actually people my weight.
Yeah,
and it's not like going up 30 pounds or going down 20 year olds, and it's like good grief. And it was funny because we had a competitor here, and she was a grandma, and
that's badass.
Professor called her the spider monkey. She was my gosh, she was in her 50s.
Wow.
And she never had anybody in her division. She always had to go down.
Or they didn't even offer her division. That is a new thing that IBJJF has changed. And I got to shout out to Carlos Mello. I don't even know the dude, but he was instrumental.
Yes, I remember that for Masters World. I actually trained with him when I was in Gilroy. He's out of Gilroy.
Oh, is he?
Yes. And I forgot the team name he's under, but I trained with him and I met him. And I saw the whole thing come up where it was for purple belt women, or I forgot what
all women. There are no Masters division above Master 1.
Really?
Unless you go to Master Worlds. But that has changed. There is now Pan Ams this last year. All the tournaments hopefully are going to have up to Master 7. And the next thing is the weight classes, because women still get screwed on weight classes. So we're trying to, get the IBJJF to open up some heavier divisions, because I don't know what it is.
Give the option of like, okay, even if it's just 2 people, like hey, don't move 2 people down 20 divisions or move them up, like whatever. And like, hey, let them fight. I like that idea. I'd rather have them do that. And like, if they want to compete in a bigger division, let them do the open. Like,
well, I think the point is just to have the same opportunities for women that men have.
Mm-hmm.
So IBJJF is listening, and the women are stepping up. Like, our Masters divisions have never been this big, and they're just growing.
No, I mean, listen about the damn fees, like annual fees. Now it's everybody now.
Yeah, it's a business. I mean, it's a business.
That's the one thing I was wondering, like how people are. I don't think it's people are like, oh, we should just boycott the IBJJF. I'm like, it doesn't.
That won't work.
They're saying they're the machine. They're the.
Well, it might work if you get enough people, but unfortunately, there's nothing like IBJJF.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing like I was world champion of this
Naga.
That
doesn't matter. That doesn't count as much.
Yeah.
I mean, it counts.
Yeah.
I'm not taking anything away from anybody, but it is a little bit of a different beast.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's like the IBJJF is like the one that matters, and to anybody's eyes, it's weird. Like, well, did he win IBJJF?
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like, did he win IBJJF World or was it Masters World?
Yeah.
It's like,
now there's a difference. Well, and there is a difference. I would get creamed in the world adult division for purple belt women.
I always see people like, oh, so-and-so puts their Masters World's champion, or that doesn't matter. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, the dude's 50 or 40.
That shit matters.
Trust me,
Sorry, you win anything
freaking
and you
matters,
want to.
Yeah. Yeah, you're going up against, it should even matter more because the 20-year-old that's winning whatever division doesn't have a mortgage job, 5 kids, and has to get up at 5 in the morning and run home to go get his gi bag and go make it right at warm-ups, to get in warm-ups and make sure he trains every day for that damn tournament.
Yeah, let alone the old person body that doesn't recover.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I found. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just don't recover as fast as I used to.
Yeah. Now, are you...
Master 3.
Master 3. I didn't want to ask.
In my 40s. No, I'm very open about it. It's totally fine. No, it's appropriate. Don't you think with jiu-jitsu, like, it's the same thing with women? Like, what do you weigh? Like, oh, what weight division are you in? Like, what do you compete at? Like that. Those conversations don't happen in the outside world.
Yeah, it's not normal.
You
Certain
never
things
ask.
you can't talk about in jiu-jitsu. You can't talk about. They always joke about, like, especially like, I mean, the mats are always kind of like the gutter. Like we talk about, like, oh, remember, a professional was like, remember, you have to stick 4 fingers in and choke, and people giggle.
Yeah.
It was like, oh gosh.
Yeah.
And he was last night. Ryan was training with the last night, and I forgot what he was saying. Oh, something else, of course. And you see him and the other teens that were training, and they giggle. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So you can't have that conversation out in a bar or public to talk about that. Like, oh, so-and-so had a great mount.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a great mount, Miyo. Like, oh my gosh.
That mounted triangle looks really good.
Gonna get you off. Oh my gosh. So, but it's awesome. But, I think we're getting close to choking some fools out.
Yeah, I cannot wait to get back to training. Although it's been so good. I mean, I've had numerous injuries. Like, I tore my ulnar nerve off the bone, not tapping to an armbar. Learned that lesson like 3 years ago. And rehabbing that is similar to rehabbing this because, I can still train. I just have to tie my hand into my belt. And I don't know if you've seen on my story, I'd wrap a pool noodle essentially.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, that's awesome. I was like, that's a new method.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, actually, my professor had reconstructive surgery on his knee, and that's how he rolled. He wrapped like a foam mattress around his leg.
That's how you think you learn the most. And, I think our professor always shares about, like, okay, well, you make a way to, you're limited.
You have to find a way.
You have to find a way, but you're going to figure out that, oh my gosh, that helped you so much.
Yeah.
That like, well, now you learn how to defend with one hand.
Yep.
Oh, now you're going to learn how to do one things with one hand on one side. You can go one side, or if it may be that injury might force you to go to your bad side. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, this is my dominant hand that I can't use.
Now you will figure out the other side. I got to do this. I remember he broke his wrist and last year, almost a little over a year ago, and he was in a cast, and he was worried, oh my God, I can't train for kids' pants. And, he was on the mat the next day. He's like, I don't want to lay. I'm like, okay, well, you can't train. You can't do. And then what the hell? He's like, training.
Yeah, you can shrimp, you can bridge, you can.
And then he's like, okay, after that, he's like, the next day, he's like 2 days later, he's like rolling, but he's rolling.
Carefully.
Yeah, he's rolling with one hand.
Trusted partners.
Yeah, and he's like, his arms tucked in. He's careful. He's, but I think it helps because you learn how to, if it's some kind of injury. Like, I have bad knees. It was super bad knees. It's to the point where I'm like, I can't be on my knees. Like, if it's a move we're working on, and I'm in someone's guard, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's gonna suck. Like, I can't. Or if I'll sweep somebody, I'll be like, okay, I can't be sitting in side control or something like that. Yeah. I'll sit back down. But also, too, it has helped my game.
Yeah, your guard game's probably sick,
my
though.
half guard game is, I feel super comfortable. My guard game, my sweeps, I feel super comfortable. And I feel super comfortable submitting from the bottom.
Yeah.
And, being a big guy, we're not bottom players.
Right.
But when I go against our big guys, I feel way more comfortable, way more, okay, I'm able to be under them a lot more, be comfortable to find the crack to be able to sweep them or submit them from the bottom. But you're just accommodating your injury to whatever you have. Like you did. Awesome. That's awesome. That's going to be
hopefully a good thing. Well, and the other thing I feel like, even though I can't go ham on the mats anymore for a while, it's just being there and training and being with my mat family is my mental health. It's, you know what I mean? Like I was down and just not depressed, but I was pissed off and upset for, a couple of weeks, just not being able to train like I normally do. And, I realized, well, maybe your happiness is tied a little bit more to jiu-jitsu than you thought.
Yeah, probably a good mental break too for you, maybe. I don't know.
Well, it was just a good lesson, like you cannot get on the mat. Like you are in a cast, you have stitches, like you cannot do this. So what else are you going to do? How are you going to find a way? How are you going to cope? What are you going to, change to be able to have a healthy mental outlook?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What did you do?
Luckily my one of my best friends owns a strength and conditioning gym called Jim Jones. Okay. Here's the sweatshirt. And she's also a purple belt. There's a bunch of black belts that train there. They do a lot of sport specific training. And so I just lived in the gym. It's been leg day every day since my injury because I can't do anything. I cannot pick up weight or put weight on my right hand until the middle of January. So I've been doing a lot of leg sleds, a lot of one arms thing. I've done one arm things, but I don't want to create too many imbalances. Mm-hmm. So they have helped me at Jim Jones to come up with a program that's safe and leg specific, and I can still get in the cardio and all the good stuff. Yeah, and then training. I have some partners that I trust that I drill with, and then like I said, we have a ton of high level black belts that are willing to train with me, and protect me, but let me work and get a sweat on.
So be able to train healthy.
Stay healthy. So
good. Well, where can people can reach you at if they have questions about anything we talked about?
Yeah. So my Instagram page is Utah Jits Mama, and it's a business page. My email's linked to that. You can DM me with questions. Our next seminar is in Utah in January. We are looking to do another one in Colorado.
And what people can information for that? So
we have a Facebook page. It's called Empower Self-Defense. Okay. I'll be posting stuff on my Jits Mama page.
And we'll post that in the show notes too.
Okay.
So definitely get that information out there too. But
and there's also an Empower Self-Defense Instagram page too. But it's we're not super active on it. We're just
have it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, definitely we'll pass out a lot of that information. That's awesome to hear. And we'll put that in the show notes and we'll talk about it. Yeah, and
thank you.
But awesome. Well, let's get some training going. And
I know I can't wait to train here. Thank you for letting me step in.
Thank you for having us, and thank you for being here with us, for Ryan and I, and hope you're enjoying your stay here. You're heading back today?
Tonight. Yep.
Tonight. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, all right. Well, let's get some chokes on.
Okay.
All right.